In 1942, a car headlight factory in Indiana quietly built 1 million pistols in 11 weeks. Each one cost $2.10 and could not hit anything past 25 feet. This gun was never built to win a single fight. It was built to terrify every German soldier standing on occupied soil. To understand why anyone would build something this ridiculous, you have to picture what Europe looked like in early 1942. It was dark, desperate, and getting worse by the day. Hitler's army had swallowed nearly everything. France was gone, Poland was crushed, the Netherlands, Belgium, Norway, Denmark, all under total German control, and millions of ordinary people had zero way to fight back because every weapon they owned had been taken from them. That is when a Polish military attaché in Washington pitched an idea that sounded completely unhinged. What if the United States built a tiny disposable pistol so cheap they could drop millions from airplanes into the backyards of occupied Europe? The goal was never to arm a real army. The goal was to put a loaded gun into the hands of a baker, a farmer, a school teacher, anyone brave enough to walk up behind a German soldier and pull the trigger at point-blank range. And once that soldier dropped, you grab his rifle, his ammunition, his grenades. The Liberator was built from day one to be a gun that gets you a better gun. And yeah, that idea is completely unhinged because the people who actually built this thing had never manufactured a weapon in their lives. The project landed on the desk of an engineer named George Hyde at General Motors. Not the weapons division, but the guide lamp division in Anderson, Indiana, the people who made car headlights. The other GM division was drowning in M1 carbine orders, so the headlight factory got the job, and what they pulled off next was absolutely wild. Hyde designed the whole pistol in weeks using stamped sheet metal and basic turned steel. The suction barrel was a 4-inch smooth tube with zero rifling, which meant the bullet started tumbling and wobbling the instant it left the gun. You had to be close enough to practically touch your target for this thing to work at all. To keep the operation hidden, every part got a fake name on the blueprints. Barrel was tube, trigger was yoke, firing pin was control rod. The gun itself was officially called the Flare Projector Caliber .45, which is where the FP-45 name came from. Any spy who found the paperwork would think they were looking at signal flare equipment, and that level of secrecy tells you exactly how seriously Washington was taking this project. But the speed at which they pulled it off is the part that will blow your mind. 300 workers ran the entire operation around the clock, and in 11 weeks they assembled 1 million FP-45 pistols, roughly one finished gun every 7.5 seconds. One gun every 7 seconds. That speed is hard to believe even by wartime standards. Each gun was boxed with 10 rounds of .45 ACP stored in the grip. Same cartridge as the famous Colt 1911. They picked that caliber on purpose, because if Germans ever captured a shipment, those .45 rounds would be completely useless in their standard 9mm weapons. The Americans were not about to hand the enemy free ammunition. The instruction sheet was a wordless comic strip showing how to twist open the breech, load one round, snap it shut, and fire. After you're shot, you poke the empty casing out with a wooden stick, because this gun had no extraction mechanism at all. Reloading took at least 10 seconds. In combat, that is a death sentence. You got one chance, one bullet, and that was it. And honestly, that was the entire point, because the real purpose of the Liberator was something most people never see coming. This is where the story flips completely on its head, because the actual genius of the Liberator had almost nothing to do with shooting anyone. The real weapon was pure psychological terror, and the Joint Psychological Warfare Committee knew exactly how to use it. The logic was devastatingly simple. Drop thousands of tiny pistols across occupied France, across Poland, across the Netherlands. You do not need every single one to reach a resistance fighter. You just need the German garrison troops to know they are out there, hidden in coat pockets, kitchen drawers, and hay bales, waiting to be used. Think about it from the other side. You are a 20-year-old German soldier posted in some quiet French village, and your officer tells you the Americans have scattered thousands of concealed handguns across the countryside. Every farmer on the road might have one in his jacket. Every woman at the market could be carrying one in her bag. Every dark alley after sunset could be the last one you ever walk through. You would never feel safe again, and that grinding paranoia would eat your entire unit alive. A German military policeman named Nicholas Lang later confirmed thousands of these guns were floating around occupied France. Whether they were all being used barely mattered at that point. The fear alone was doing exactly what the Americans wanted. Every checkpoint became slower. Every patrol became more nervous. Every interaction between a soldier and an ordinary civilian now carried the silent question of whether that person had a loaded pistol in their pocket. The Liberator turned every single civilian in every occupied country into a potential killer, and no occupying army has ever figured out how to defend against that. But what happened next nearly killed the entire program. So you have got 1 million pistols boxed up, sealed, and ready to ship, and nobody wants them. The military brass looked at this entire operation and could not agree on a single thing, and the whole plan nearly collapsed. 500,000 went to Britain for the French resistance. General Eisenhower killed the airdrop plan immediately. His aircraft were better used dropping bombs, not pistols. Out of 500,000 guns collecting dust in British warehouses, he approved fewer than 25,000. 5%. All that work, all that secrecy, and the supreme Allied commander in Europe said no thanks. In the Pacific, MacArthur and Stilwell were just as cold. About 100,000 went to China and some to the Philippines. But how many reached actual fighters is still unknown. The Army dumped 450,000 leftover liberators on the Office of Strategic Services, the forerunner to the CIA, and even they said they would rather hand out real submachine guns. When the war ended, hundreds of thousands of unused liberators were melted for scrap or dumped into the sea. 1 million guns built in 11 weeks, and most of them never got loaded once. But the ones that did get through, those told a very different story. The guns that reached the field worked exactly as designed, but resistance fighters were not keeping diaries about kills, because writing "shot a Japanese officer with my American pistol" was a guaranteed death sentence for your entire family if anyone found that page. One of the best accounts comes from the Philippines. A man named Datu del Rosario used a liberator to ambush a Japanese officer in a Manila alleyway. The Japanese had occupied his city, terrorized his people, and his own sister had been dragged away. Del Rosario had a reason to fight, and now he had a weapon. The officer stopped to relieve himself against a wall, and Del Rosario staggered toward him pretending to be drunk, cocked the pistol behind his own leg, pressed the barrel against the officer, and fired 1 round. He grabbed the officer's sword and sidearm and vanished into the darkness. 3 rounds were still sitting in the grip, which meant that same $2 gun could be passed along, and 3 more enemy soldiers could die from it. That was always the idea. But there is one more piece of this story that changes everything. The Liberator was proposed in March 1942. Just 2 months later, Czech resistance soldiers ambushed Reinhard Heydrich on the streets of Prague, one of the highest-ranking Nazis in occupied Europe, and the man who chaired the Wannsee Conference where the final solution was planned. A modified grenade sent shrapnel into his body, and he died 8 days later from the infection. The highest-ranking Nazi anyone had managed to kill during the entire war, taken out on a public street in broad daylight, and nobody was prepared for what came next. The Nazis completely destroyed the village of Lidice, shot every man, deported the women and children to concentration camps, and killed over 1,000 Czechs in retaliation. That wave of violence sent a clear message to every Allied commander. Arming civilians behind enemy lines was not just a military decision, it was a moral one. Because every act of resistance triggered reprisals that wiped out entire communities who had nothing to do with the attack. This is the biggest reason the Liberator was never mass-dropped the way it was originally planned. Fighting back came with a cost that whole villages had to pay, and that tension haunted the program from its first day to its last. Today, surviving FP-45 Liberators are some of the rarest collector items from the entire war. A gun that cost $2.10 to build now sells for $2,000 to $4,000, and a complete kit with the original box, all 10 rounds. And the instruction comic pushes well beyond that. The concept refused to die when the war ended. In 1964, the CIA quietly built a nearly identical weapon called the Deer Gun for resistance fighters during Vietnam. Same logic, different decade, same belief that a disposable pistol could cause chaos far beyond what one bullet should be able to do. The Liberator was ugly, inaccurate past 10 feet, and the barrel started cracking after about 50 rounds. By every normal standard, it was one of the worst firearms ever built. But that is exactly what makes this story so wild. It was never designed to be a good gun. It was designed to be a terrifying idea that fit in a coat pocket, cost less than a pack of cigarettes, and turned millions of occupied civilians into a threat that no army on Earth could fully control. And that idea, that single concept of invisible arm resistance hiding in plain sight, scared the Germans more than 1,000 tanks rolling across the border ever could. $2, one bullet, one idea that made an entire occupation force lose sleep at night. If you want another story like this, that video is on screen now. Subscribe.